What I've just been working out, which I've kind of cracked, is this is the potentiometer out of the, I took it apart and took the wires out, and I've put them into this wiring loom here. So right now, everything is kind of, everything is turned on. If I go and press the accelerator now, that works. And if I turn it to reverse, let's give that a go. Okay. So there we have it. I've just got to put some pins in. I've got some plugs to go onto that, so I'll put the pins onto it and get those into the plug, and we now have the potentiometer fully functional. I think all I've got to do now is work out the key switch, and the rest of these components I will probably just wire up in between the seats. I think that might be what I will do. Just get a bit of plastic or a bit of board and make a hole in and screw all of these, well, put all of these into that hole. Unless I can figure out what those wires do exactly. There's quite a few wires in that switch, so I don't know exactly what does what. So we'll see how that goes, but for now the most important part's done. I have an accelerator. I've soldered, because there are such tiny wires, I've soldered them into the pins and fixed them up here. So that is now all connected. I just hope that I can find somewhere to secure that so that they don't break eventually. But look at this. So that's the wiring loom that goes to the that was going into the controller. So some of these other wires will actually connect to things like this, but I'm just not quite sure which of these wires I need and which ones I don't. So I'll maybe work that out another day. But as I said, I might put them into the front over there anyway, so I can keep all of those close together and intact. Now, what I'm going to work on doing also is wiring up a key switch so that the 12-volt signal that's currently going into these two here will be going across the key switch instead, and that should give me my power on without having to do something like this right now. So yeah, that's what I'm going to have to work on in a short while. But the main thing is the hardest part was done, which was getting the potentiometer done, and the rest should be relatively simple. Now, the slight conundrum I've come across is that this red wire at the corner is supposed to be the key switch input. That one there looks like the main return, so I'm not sure if that's to do with switching it on or not, because it's the same colour as this wire here. However, whatever combination I use connecting it to the mains, connecting it to the main 48 volt doesn't seem to do anything. If I put 12 volts into this red wire here, it comes straight out of there regardless of whether the key is turned or not. So I'm just trying to figure out where the key switch input functions, and but otherwise I might just put a separate key switch somewhere down there, and that will be connected to the 12 volt that switches on the inverter. So yeah, that's the problem that I have at the minute, is that I'm not quite sure which one or how to wire up a key switch into this, because I think it seemed to work with the controller that was already in there, but for some reason it doesn't seem to separate the voltage when you turn the key, so it doesn't cut the voltage. It's just constant. It's just a constant 12 volt coming out of there, which is a shame. I'm not quite sure what to do with that, but we will see. And that's also live with 12 volt when I put 12 volt through the red. so it may indeed be connected to this somehow, but I'm not quite sure how they wired it, and there's no explicit wiring diagrams to show, I don't think, on how this part can be done. So I mean, it's not a huge problem because the steering wheel has a lock. You can always do other things to stop people driving it away, even if they do figure out how to crack the switch. But I'll probably put a hidden switch somewhere that turns on the inverter. As I say, a key switch isn't expensive, so I could easily just put a second key in there, but it's another key that you have to use the car, so we'll see. But I guess I'll figure that part out at some point. And before you say anything, yes, I did put fuses in there to test it, because that's all linked to that's all fused. I put the fuses back in and I still wasn't getting anything, so I guess we can figure that out later. That won't stop the car from running. The main thing was a potentiometer. So yeah, let's get the rest in and get the car rolling. So there's a bit more to do before I do take it off the stands, including sorting that brake out, I think. But what I'm doing at the moment is taking the seats out. I might change them with the seats out, the blue G-WIZ that are in the shed, because they're in much better condition. So I might change those over while I've got these off. And there's all the electronics in there. I'm going to pull that box out, and then what I'm thinking of doing is finding something to go in here where all the plugs and switches can go somewhere down here, maybe even sloping this way so that you can get to them, and that's what I'm thinking of doing for the car, so that you can get to the controls and everything then stays on the same loom. I don't have to wire anything into the dash or anything like that. So that's the plan. So I'm just taking everything apart for now, getting everything stripped out, and then we'll start working on that. I've got all the seats out. What I did have in mind, and I will have to cut this down if I do this because it's too wide here, is to basically run this cabling over here. Is to run it possibly actually underneath this so it's protected, and then bring the components in through there. Now that's what I do have in mind. Is I'll drill some holes here, and then you'll basically have them sitting there. As long as they're not in the way, that's the problem. I think maybe about here could work, but then as I say, I could do an angle off so they're actually sitting on this end of the board. Not decided yet. I've just got to do some figuring out of what I'm going to do exactly. Like, for example, I could fit it there instead and then have the components on that side. But yeah, that's going to take some thinking. So before I can do any more work, I need to figure out how I'm going to mount those controls, and yeah, after that's done I can get the seats back in, and then I can possibly get the wheels on the car, put the batteries in the back, and see about doing that. Now the other thing I do need to figure out, which is a crucial part of this, is how I'm going to charge the car. Now what I was thinking originally was using the original charger and unplugging the series, so have a series cable going in, unplugging the series and then charging them in, then rewiring the batteries in parallel with manual plugs and using the original charger to charge them up, and without BMS that will keep it more balanced. But if I can, I want to try and either get the BMS working. I don't know how we're going to do that yet, because these batteries haven't been cracked for the SIMP BMS, etc. So that's going to take some work. But if I can figure that part out, then we can possibly get the charger side done. So yeah, that's all that's left to do, is working out the charger and how we're going to charge this car up. But yeah, so we've done a bit of progress. We've got the accelerator, the potentiometer in the accelerator wired up through the back loom, so I don't have to put any wiring into the dash. It's already there. I just have to figure out a couple of other things, whether I'm going to use this original here or if I'm going to rewire the reverse lights to work off of that unit over there. Now I don't know if it's legal, but I could potentially just stick it into reverse. Actually, to be honest, what I might do is I'll leave it in reverse permanently in there, and then I'll rewire the negative wire in the reverse light up to the connector just there, and that will make the reverse light work off that, and I can just leave that permanently in reverse. And I mean, that might be the quickest and simplest route to fix that. We'll see. I'm not too bothered about certain quirks in order to get it running. But yeah, so that's it for today. I think I've got to focus on that in the next time I get a chance to work on this, and get all the controls into the front so that it's workable when I run the car. Now I could just leave it hanging for the time being. I don't know yet, but I would rather get it fixed in properly before I do anything else. So yeah, it's just getting that done and trying to find a suitable charger, and then I'll be well on the way to putting this car on the road.